Hey, what's up, book lovers? My name is and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to tell you why you should read After You by Jojo Moyes. After You is the sequel to Me Before You, which is right here. If you haven't heard of this book by now, I'd be surprised. It was just adapted into a film and the movie came out in June, I believe, and I loved both the book and the movie. Me Before You is definitely one of my favorite books of the year so far. A lot of people read Me Before You and love it, but don't really know if they should pick up After You, and I'm here to tell you that After You is definitely worth the read. Now, this video will have spoilers for Me Before You, so if you have not read Me Before You, you probably shouldn't watch this video because I will be spoiling it's a major spoiler for what happens in Me Before You. But if you have read Me Before You, I want you to know that I might actually place After You above Me Before You, and that's saying something because Me Before You was one of my favorite books of the year and I absolutely loved it. And reading this book has definitely made me want to pick up all of Jojo Moyes' books. Hopefully that will happen one day because I know there's a lot, but I absolutely loved everything about these two books and I really wish that there was more. I'm not sure if she's planning on ever writing anything else about these characters, but a girl can hope and dream. So why do I think you should read After You? The first thing is the writing. The writing is absolutely perfect. Like, I'm not someone who reads a lot of adult fiction, but the way that Jojo Moyes writes is really easy for me to read. Everything just flows so beautifully, and even the parts where she's just describing things doesn't bother me, which usually I'm not that big on descriptions in books. They usually bore me, but like her descriptions have me hooked and I still love to read them. And considering how I am as a reader, that says a lot. So the writing was definitely a great part of this book for me. The next reason is that if you love Lou's character, you're definitely going to love her more in this book. I think that in Me Before You, I loved Will, but to be honest, Lou is my favorite character, which is really also not typical because usually my favorite characters are not the main characters, but Lou is such a great character. She just has like this kind and caring nature that really just makes you love her and want to hug her, and you really get to see more of that in this book. That aspect of her personality is even more prevalent in this book. And you basically just get to see her next steps in life because Lou is so relatable as someone who doesn't really know what she's doing in life. Like, I think a lot of people can relate to that. And even after Will's death, she's still experiencing that. And she's also just trying to grow from what she went through with Will in the first novel. And I absolutely loved watching her try to break more out of her shell because it's still something that she struggles with. And I love that even though Will died, it wasn't like everything was fixed for her. You know, like she still had issues and she still had the same issues. So I thought with that aspect, the book was really realistic. And another thing is that this book is a lot darker. So if that is something that you're interested in your realistic fiction or contemporary books, then I would definitely say you should pick up After You because this book really deals with the topic of grief. We have a support group in this book for people who are dealing with grief. We really deal with how a person thinks following a traumatic experience and how they try to cope with that, how they're feeling, what do they do to go and move on. And we see that because Lou is really going through this dark and tough time in her life where she really is just trying to build off of what Will gave her and to just find her place, but it's just even harder for her. And something else that I really loved is that we dealt with the question of who are we to decide when a person stops grieving? Like, who are we to say, okay, this is your grief period, 6 months, that's it. Now after 6 months you should have moved on. Like, who are we to decide that? And I really like that it dealt with that topic and that issue. If you also loved Will, I think that Will is a constant part of this book. Just because he's dead doesn't mean he isn't very much alive. He's a constant thought in Lou's head because of the grief that she's going through. We learn more about him. I know this is like kind of cliche, but he's like very much alive through the characters and through the people that were in his life. Another thing is that someone from Will's past comes up in the book, and this isn't a spoiler because it's in the synopsis. Through that person, we kind of still get to see Will's personality, and we get to hear more about Will because of that character's presence. Another really great thing about this book was that we got to see more of Lou's family, which was great for me because I loved Lou's family in the first book, and they really have their own things going on too. I loved once again seeing Trina and Lou's relationship because that is a fantastic sibling relationship. And I love that it didn't go away. Lou's parents were also pretty prevalent in this book, and I loved that we got to explore some feminist topics through Lou's mother. I really enjoyed those parts, and I really enjoyed Lou's mother as a character in this book. Will's parents were also present in this book, but I don't want to say why because that's a little bit of a spoiler, but I really enjoyed seeing them again and seeing them through a different light. And there were also a lot of new characters in this book. There were 2 new characters that I absolutely loved, and I loved seeing their relationship with Lou. So if you're a character-driven reader, this is definitely another reason why you should pick up After You. So basically, you should read After You to see more of Lou's character development, see a great family dynamic, and to just basically read about a difficult topics that are important and we need to be talking more about, particularly in this book, traumatic events and the way we deal with the grief following those events. Like I said, I loved After You, maybe even a little bit more than Me Before You, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. If you read After You, let me know down below what you thought of the book, but just make sure that if you spoil anything, like you clearly state that there's going to be a spoiler in the comment, so I don't want to spoil anyone. If you haven't read After You, but you've read Me Before You and you're a little hesitant, I definitely think it's worth the read. You should absolutely pick it up. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time in my new video. Bye!